There, let's get started working with our WordPress sites. Today we're going to talk about how to create pages to our WordPress site. Okay, so there's two ways to log into our WordPress site. I'm at my public site, which means I don't have access to my dashboard because I'm not signed in yet. You'd see that extra toolbar at the top. So there's two ways that you can log into your site. You can log in from your home page by clicking the login, or you can log in by going to the admin login, which is basically your website with a /wp-admin, and that will take you to the same place. If you'll notice, the login down here on the regular home page is just a regular site login, but it will recognize you as an admin. So either way works, and we'll get to our dashboard. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is that there are basically two different types of content you can create for your site. The first is called pages, and pages are basically what we would consider a static page that has content on it that we wouldn't necessarily change too often. So this might be like an about page or a contact page or something along that nature, depending on what your theme of your site is. The next way to create content is through posts, and posts are where you're going to get your traditional blog content created, and you're going to maintain content, add new content, update content, etc. So posts will be you'll be constantly editing and updating and things like that. So but this video is going to be about pages. So first let's go ahead and click on the pages from our menu here, and you'll see that your version will probably just have the sample page. So let's take a look at the sample page real quick. There's really nothing in here, just a little bit of content with a title. So this box up here is the title of the page, and this is the content of the page. A couple things I want to show you. This is a text editor. Okay, this is considered a WYSIWYG, which stands for what you see is what you get. Okay, and it's very similar to a word processor. If I wanted to work with this content, for example, let's say I wanted this to be a heading, I can highlight it and then I can change this to my heading 1. I always recommend that you create headings and block your content. So if I want this to be my heading, maybe I want it to be bold, something along those lines. And then everything else is a paragraph. I can create like an ordered list if I wanted to. So, although it doesn't look like it's coming up here. All right, there's my first item, etc. Okay, so this is considered a visual text editor. Okay, I would recommend that you not put too much styling in here, so you don't need to be changing colors and fonts and things like that, because that stuff will all be determined by the theme that you have applied to your website. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at this other option called text. Now, if you are familiar with HTML, this will look very familiar to you. So you'll see here, I chose a heading 1. Here's H1. I made it bold. Here's a strong tag, the opening and closing tag, the closing tag to the heading. You'll notice that all of the paragraphs don't have any tags around them. So that's definitely one difference here between regular HTML and the WordPress text editor, which is more typically, I would consider this more like a code editor. So if you are using some content and you want to create it using HTML because you're more comfortable with that, you can do that. Also, if you want to maybe cut and paste from an existing web page that you've created, you can do something like that as well. Okay, just notice that these are kind of like little tabs switching between one and the other. Okay, so you can choose which one works best. Sometimes it's easier just to work in the visual, and then if you want to change it in HTML, you can switch over to the text. Okay, so take a look at the icons up here. We've got bold, italic, bullet list, numbered list, a block quote, and then some alignment, insert a link, and insert a read more tag. And then there's actually another row of toolbars down here if you want to have more additional formatting purposes. Okay, so when you create a page, this is what you're going to be using. And let's take a look at a few other options here. So I'm going to go ahead and just click update on this, and that will make my page publish my page with all of the changes. Now, this page says, let's look in the publish box here. So we have a status. Okay, so this status is currently set to published. There are two other statuses. One could be draft. So if you're working on your page but you don't want it published yet, you would choose draft. Okay, and that's the default that these come in at. Pending review would be if you are the website administrator or the editor for the website, you could come in here and say that you were done with your draft and you want this to be pending review. So you want the person in charge to review this and go from there. Okay, so that is currently it's still set to publish. And click cancel. And then visibility. Do I want this to be available to the public? Do I want it to be private so that only my editors and my admins can see it? Or do I want this to be password protected? So these are all options that you can choose. Default, of course, is public. And then here are the revisions. So anything that I have, like if I've made a different copy of this, it will keep track of all my revisions and I can revert back to that revision if I wanted to, which is kind of handy. Okay. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. I'm going to update it, and then I want to show you this last bit of information here. This is permalink. Okay, so this permalink is basically going to be where this page is on my website. So this would be the URL to get to my sample page. Okay, and you will see it here, and that is what it looks like. Not the most beautiful page, but you'll also see that I have the beginnings of a navigation bar, and we'll talk about that in another video. Okay, so that is the overall page here for this edit page. I'm going to go back to my list of pages, and hovering over the title of the page, you'll see that there's some menus that come up. So I can view it, I can trash it, which basically sends it to what we're used to calling like a recycle bin. It will sit in the trash until we delete it. We can edit it, or quick edit, which is basically just some of the basic content here. Okay, so if I wanted to add a new one, I could come up here to add new. I could select add new from the left hand side, or I could click new page from the top. They really want to give you a lot of options here, right? So if I want to create a new one, I just go add new. Here's my title, here's my information, and you'll notice again in the published it is automatically defaulted as a draft with a visibility of public. As soon as you click publish, this will change and it will automatically be available on your site, but first you have to connect it to your site. The other option here is if you wanted to publish something at a later date, or you could technically even go back and publish this 4 days ago if you wanted to. You can schedule it out however long you want, and you'll see that it will change from published to schedule 4. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and cancel this, and you'll see that I'm back to my regular menu. The other thing that you see here is in my pages you can see who the author is, if there's been any comments, and the date that it was published. Okay, great. Thanks.